Hi and welcome to a short video on referencing at level 7. Some practical information for you to help begin studying for your PGCE. Some reminders of referencing practice using the Harvard UK system for anybody that feels they need a refresher, or maybe transferring from a subject that they use a different system such as APA. So the key questions that are being outlined in this video are basically around avoiding plagiarism and how to use the Harvard UK system effectively in both reference lists and in texts that you're writing. I'm going to start off with the important topic of avoiding plagiarism. Plagiarism is serious at level 7, as it is any sort of university study. The easiest way to avoid plagiarism is to use quotation marks for directly cited text, and make sure that you use in-text citations to denote either any paraphrasing or any, again, to reinforce your reference of quoted material. Reference lists should be comprehensive. If you're not sure, put it in, and I'll give you as much guidance as I can during this video. So just to go through the procedure, what happens if we do find plagiarism and why this video is important is that we make a report to Birmingham City University, who award the PGCE, and they investigate further after we've raised suspicions. You'll be subject to a disciplinary procedure if they find evidence of plagiarism, and that's graded at 0. You'll be then forced to attend an adjudicating panel, which is not a particularly nice experience. And then the result of that disciplinary panel will decide whether you're allowed a single resubmission or whether you are barred from resubmitting and therefore forced to withdraw from the PGCE and pursue a QTS only route, if we elect to allow you to do so after a disciplinary procedure through the SCITT. So that's a rather unhappy way to start, but we're going to move on now to some practical referencing guidance. And of course, if you have any questions on this, please feel free to email me or your PGCE tutor, and we'll be more than happy to assist. So importantly, as with all education providers in the country, we use the UK Harvard referencing system. I would encourage you at this point to be careful of referencing generators. For example, Wheel of Referencing, as they use the slightly different American Harvard system. I'll be going through all of the British system. If you are using referencing generators, please can you cross-reference your references with the English model and make sure, please, that you're using the correct form of referencing, because as we move into level 7 as opposed to level 6, which is undergraduate, the standards for referencing are a lot higher, and it's important that we get the little things right. So I'm going to go through how to reference books, chapters, websites, journals, and online media. So to begin with, I'm going to talk through referencing a printed book, and there's an example on the screen now from Teach Like a Champion. And this is really simple and really straightforward. We have the surname of the author, Lemov, his initial, then the year of publication, a colon, italicized titles, always italicize the titles of books, the edition, the location of the publisher, then a colon, and then the name of the publisher. Make sure that you split each part with full stops, and you'll be absolutely fine with that. Referencing books with Harvard is really, really straightforward. However, education texts tend to be structured as reference materials, and you'll need to be able to cite chapters. So using the same text, I've cited a chapter within Lemov's Teach Like a Champion. You just add in the chapter title with quotation marks before the italicized title, which is much easier when the author's the same. So we've got there the chapter, the guidance, fading effects, and then we just put in and then the title of the full text. If the author's different at that stage, after you put the chapter title, you then need to complete a more full reference using the book method that I've just been through. Please make sure if you are referencing chapters that you include the page numbers which go at the end after the publisher's name. That should be separated with a comma and then conclude with a full stop. Websites are probably the most common type of referencing these days in PGCE assignments. We would encourage you to use a range of different reference types, but lots of references to websites are very common in assignments. So To reference a website, you need to include the name of the author, the year of publication, the title of the page that you are referencing, and then it gets a little bit different. Firstly, refer to the text as online, and then after the full stop, available at : and then the web address exactly as it appears in your browser, because these can be checked. And then after a full stop, in square brackets, accessed, and then the date in British format. This is again something you have to be careful of with the American referencing websites, because their date format is different. Just conclude everything, every section with a full stop, and then you should be referencing accurately. If you need this for reference, just pause the video and then you've got an example in front of you as you're referencing. In terms of what constitutes a good website to reference, there's really simple rules around this, and it's 3 words: named, dated, credible. Generally, if an author is willing to put their name to it, it means that the research that's been undertaken is credible. If the article has a date on it as well, then that means that they are time-stamping the article as being emblematic of research that's going on at that particular point. So if you can find the author's name, if you can find a date on it, and the author has some sort of background in education, you're absolutely fine. It's why, for example, Wikipedia is a deeply inappropriate reference, because anyone can edit it. And anonymised blog posts, there's loads of teaching blogs where it's just people letting off some steam, or kind of personally reflecting on their practice, not experts in their field. So please make sure that if you're referencing blogs in particular, that it has an author and it has a date of publication on it. If you're not sure whether it's credible or not, even with an author's name, just look for citations within the article or reference list. Then generally it means they're writing something that can stand up to some scrutiny. Academic journals are a really good source of educative research, and I would always recommend that you join your subject association in order to access the most subject specific and up-to-date research in your area. They are, however, the most difficult thing to reference under the Harvard system. So I'm going to go through this one quite slowly. You may want to pause it if you are referencing during your assignment. So you begin with the surname, comma and an initial, then the date of publication, so all very similar to a book reference so far. The title of the article needs to go in quotation marks, and then you go in and the names of the editors of that journal or editor. You then give the journal's title. So in this case, I've referenced the use of English. And then after the title, you state the date of issue, the volume number, the number within the volume, and then page numbers. If the journal is accessed online, you then follow the procedure for an online reference. If the journal is printed, you follow the procedure for a book reference. So in the example I've given you, most educative journals nowadays are paperless and they've gone online. We go with after the page number, online, available at, link the web address, and then the square brackets with accessed and the date in British format after that. Again, any questions about this, please do get in touch, because it's better to get in touch and get it right than to make mistakes. Online media is an increasingly common point of reference as teacher podcasts and YouTube channels are growing steadily. You can reference online media, and it's really, really easy because it's dead similar to an online reference for a text-based website. All you have to do is reference it exactly as you would a text-based website, but just change online to the format that you are referencing. So for example, a video or a podcast or a blog. If the media that you're referencing is hosted, so for example, you've listened to a podcast on Spotify, you then put after the online part the name of the host. So in the example from Teach Like This, I've put YouTube in there because YouTube is hosting the video, and then that's the way to accurately reference online media. Reference lists are extremely important. You must include a reference list, else the assignment won't be accepted for marking or appraisal. Even if you've used footnotes, you need a full reference list at the end of your piece. It should be alphabetized in Harvard in order of each author's surname, not the order in which you have cited. And that's probably the most common error on reference lists. So please make sure you alphabetize your reference lists. You can use the A to Z function in Word, and that's accurately presented on the page. We always check reference lists at level 7. The requirements around referencing are so tight, so we need to make sure that you're meeting academic regulations. And again, we cannot grade an assignment without a fully completed reference list. So in-text citations then. Again, really important, and largely because in education assignments compared to something like, say, my subject English, there's a far greater prevalence of paraphrasing. And personally, I find paraphrasing quite difficult. But as long as you include clear in-text citations, then you won't be pulled up for plagiarism. The failure to cite paraphrase content with citations explicitly included is the biggest trigger of plagiarism accusations. So apologies for the wall of text, but here's an example of in-text referencing in context. And you'll notice that in the first one, MacLeod et al. 2015 follows the conventional format for an in-text reference, the author's name and then the date of publication. And there's also an example of Quigley and Myhill in there too. Any directly quoted text is surrounded with quotation marks. This is extremely important. And the difference between quotation marks and speech marks are that quotation marks are for text that is written on the page, and speech marks are for spoken media such as podcasts or videos. So the format of in-text in-text citation is always the same regardless of the media. So the surname and then the year. And you only need to introduce the citation in full once per paragraph, usually at the start, but you should always refer to the author's name clearly thereafter. If you go back to the previous slide, you will see that I've referenced Quigley after I've referenced him initially, and you'll see what I mean there. Just make sure it's clear who you are talking about. And the reason that I would recommend embedding citations within sentences rather than the bracketed method is that it makes it really nice and clear as to who you're referring to, and also injects pace into your writing and improves your writing style and the efficacy with which you're using your word count. So in terms of blogs, articles and books, it's just the surname of the author and then the year in brackets. Videos, again, dead simple. Just use the name of the presenter, the organisation or the channel that you've taken it from if you're citing YouTube. There's an example there. I know it looks a little bit strange, but it's absolutely fine to reference channels that have funky formatting. And then podcasts, cite the presenter and the interviewee. You can also cite the name of the podcast if you're unsure, but generally the presenter and interviewee is more precise. I'm going to conclude the video with just some quick hacks and time savers when it comes to searching, because obviously you're really time poor, working all day and then having to complete assignments around your working day. So I just want to try and make things a bit easier for you. I'm going to start off by introducing the idea of phrase searching. If you search for a term with speech marks around it, you'll only search for that phrase. The example I've given there is teach training. If you put speech marks around teach training, you'll only search for that completed phrase. You won't have all results for teacher and all results for training together. It's a way of really quickly and effectively narrowing down your search. So for example, if you were to search for English pedagogy without speech marks around it, you'd search for everything related to English and everything related to pedagogy, and as you can imagine, that would be millions of results. Put speech marks around it and you'll have a far more precise search, and it will cut your time down when you're trying to find those citations. Truncation is where you widen the search. So for example, if you search for teach with an asterisk after it, you then include searches for teacher, teaching educator, pedagogue, anything that vaguely to do with teach. So if you need to really widen your search, that's how you can do that. So add an asterisk if you want to widen it to synonyms and derivatives of the search term. And then Boolean searching is a kind of add-in for all of the major search engines and all engines within things like JSTOR. and it's just basically using and or. Or extends the search, so when you put a phrase together in a search box, you're searching for everything related to all parts of the phrase. So safeguarding or child protection, you're searching for both safeguarding, child protection, and then safeguarding and child protection together. Whereas if you put and, you're only searching for the combined term. So and or are really useful terms when you're searching for things. So nearly finished. I'm just going to go through a couple of things. You'll be granted access to BCU's Moodle, which is a platform where you'll gain access basically to all the BCU services, including paid online journal databases such as JSTOR, ResearchGate, and everything that you'll need to create credible and interesting assignments. I've got a session with you on the 18th of September that goes through criticality and reflective practice, which will be much more focused on how to succeed in the assignment itself. The purpose of this video is purely to make sure your referencing is spot on and to avoid any nasty issues with plagiarism. You'll gain a library pass and have full access to all of BCU's library, and I'll make sure that you receive a copy of the referencing handbook, which will contain details of more obscure referencing types, and then a list of academic sources that are open access, for example core.ac.uk, where you can access millions of articles on education that are academically reputable and will help you succeed in your assignments. So I wish you the very best of luck in your PGCE year. I hope that all of the assignments go well. Please know that as Arbitrary SCITT, we are very much a family-like organisation. If you are going through difficulties with your assignments, please reach out to your tutor. Please reach out to us in the central team, and we'll make sure that we give time in order to give you the best possible chance of succeeding. So the best of luck with everything this year. I really look forward to reading your assignments and seeing what you come up with, and I will see you shortly. Thank you.